Discover Talent, we are starting with foundation of Excel, the basic functions. These are building blocks. Even if you are advanced, you will find yourself using this daily. We will use our health and safety data set, which we are having a 40 records of workplace incidents, in which we are having a severity scores, training hours, lost in time days, and cost. Together, we will discover how these basic formulas instantly turn raw data into a meaningful insights. Cool. So before we begin, let me just quickly give you the overall glance how Excel looks. Okay. So these are the rows what we have, and this is what we called as a column. These are the ribbons which we can see it at the top: page layout, formulas, data, review, and so on and so forth. Okay, these are the sheets, worksheets available in one specific workbook. In data ribbon tab, we are going to extract that report over here. Okay, so we are just extracting that raw data set. So I have this raw data set available with me, which is having a 40 records. I'll simply import it, and then as soon as I import, it will give me the pop-up like this. Okay, either you can directly load it through this, or maybe you can simply do a transform over here. As I can scroll here right towards right, or maybe the left right, I can see the data is clean. Okay, no need to do any kind of changes over here. So I can assume that this data is okay to insert directly inside the Excel. So I just simply click on this load button. Okay, as soon as I click on load button, you can see at one simple click we got this entries available over here. Okay, and here it will give you the overall glance 40 rows has been loaded in the MS Excel spreadsheet. Cool. And this is the overall top, if you can see, right? These are the overall glance has been given. Start with a very basic function first. Okay, and then later on we will focus on the advanced function slowly steadily. Okay, so let's begin with some function. Imagine your manager asks what's the total cost incident this quarter. So we just have to check total cost over here first. I'll just go right hand side and check the data, and then here I can see the cost USD. Can you see it over here? Correct. So this is the total cost, and then if I do a sum over here, okay, is equal to sum and overall this, close, hit enter. Cool. I will get a instant result, which is this. Now there are other methods as well to calculate a sum. Okay, so this is the one method. I'll just delete this part. And then since your data is already in the table, right? So in the table design, there is an option called total row, right? As soon as you hit total row, you will get this row available over here, which is total, right? And if I go here right hand side, and the column was U, right? So if I go at the top, I'll just double check where is the column U available. Cool, here. And if I scroll it down, simply drop down will automatically get available because we have turned this option on, right? So I'll just simply click here and click on this option called sum, and then I'll get a result then and there. So this is the another method, which is method number 2. I just delete this, and if in case you want a quick calculation, right, we'll simply click alt plus is equal to. So whenever you press alt key is equal to, you will see this kind of a sum automatically get added. Okay, we just have to simply press alt and equal to. And then if in case you want to do any other method, like we have added a sum formula, you can do it from here as well. Okay, we just have to double click here sum, and then simply select a range over here, number 1, which is this. Suppose this time I will select this at the top, and then bottom I can select like this. You can see the calculation result reflected over here, right? Either you can directly click on OK button, or maybe you can just say cancel. I just hit a OK button and I get a result then and there available. Cool. Great. So this is what the sum formula. Excel instantly adds all cost across the 40 records. That's the answer. The total cost impact of all safety incident this period. No manual calculator, no adding line by line. Sum does it in a second. And here is the real power. If you add new rows later, sum will updates automatically. If I calculate again sum like this, and suppose set it a new row over here, and I'll say this 800, this will automatically get calculated inside this specific cell, right? So this is how the calculation works in MS Excel, right? Just delete this because I don't really require that. And from here, I will turn this option off, right? Now, since we have checked sum function, now it's a very basic function called average function, right? Now leadership asks on an average, how are our inspection doing? Okay, so this is the question, and majority times we see, right, these questions comes from leadership that in terms of how we are doing a inspection. So what is the average number we are having? To do that, simply let's go there and check a that specific column, because what data is referring to, right? So we just have to go there, inspection score. Cool. So this is the inspection score where we will be adding a formula there. Cool. So I'm just highlighting this as a color, inspection score over here, and then I will simply add a formula over here is equal to average. Okay. And simply just go at the top and select this and hit enter. This is the result what I have got over here. Great. Again, the same story. We can do it table design, and then we can turn this option on, and then we will get a result then and there. Maybe you can click on this particular option, just type a average over here and then select it. Okay. So there are alternatives methods. We can do it, this basic functions, with the help of these alternative methods as well. And Excel tells us the mean inspection score. It's 83.05, right? That's our baseline. If next quarter average rises, right, to 86, we know safety inspection improved. Cool. Average is essential for tracking performance trends over a time. And majority times while we are creating a dashboard, that time we use this function more frequently. Next is minimum. Minimum function. Suppose you want to know the lowest severity incident happened, right? That time we use this function. Now to check a severity where it is happened, right? So we just have to go ahead and check a severity score. If I do a filter, I got to know that this is the lowest one. However, when you have a larger data set, okay, that time this function really helps. Again, if you turn this option on, table row, you can simply click here and then you will get a result then and there. Or maybe you can just say minimum and just select a value like this, bracket close, hit enter. Okay. Likewise, you can do it either ways, whichever preferred step for you. Okay. And which is helpful for you to get a data then and there. Now, let me tell you the importance of this. Why care about the lowest? Because it shows your best case scenario. It gives context to overall safety performance, right? Since we are talking about the health and safety related data set, right? That's what the discussion is all about. Now the max, the similar fashion for max, I'll just go here, right hand side, severity score here, simply select a max from here, and then we can get a max result. If I apply a formula over here, max, we have to simply type over here and then select a range appropriately and hit enter. You will get a similar result then and there. Add a maximum, or maybe sometimes as a minimum. Suppose I'm adding a minimum over here. Okay. And as an example, I will be adding a simply minimum and maximum together. Suppose it returns, if you can see it over here, maximum is severity is 9 and minimum is 1. Okay. So if it returns 9, okay, in our example, it's 9, which is correct, right? That means at least one very severe incident occurred. That's where your attention should go first. Together, minimum and maximum give you the full spectrum from the best case to worst case. Formula, which is count formula. Count answers how many numeric entries are exist. Okay. So if I go here, lost time in days. In our data, right, column lost time in days tracks days lost due to incidents. Okay. So if I calculate like this, simply count, okay, this will give me the 40 result over here. 40 incidents led to lost time. This is a powerful because count ignores blanks or text. It's clean, reliable, and shows you where real number exists. Okay. Now count A. It's similar like a count function, but more inclusive. It counts anything that isn't a blank, text, or number. Okay. To calculate that, what we have to do, simply use A is equal to and count A function. Okay. I will just go over here and check if I can count this specific text over here, right? So what I'm going to do over here is I'll just simply say here is equal to count A. Just double click over here and then simply select this range, right? Just select this range and I'll drag it like this, hit enter. I got a result like this. See, this option is not available, which is count A. Okay, to do that, what we have to do, simply click here, type here count A and click on this option go. Okay, and then you will get a pop-up like this, which is this specific function, and hit enter. Then you can add that function then and there, right? And this is how the beautifully you can add the functions. Sometimes decimals makes reports messy. Count keeps things neat and clean. Okay, so let's go ahead and check if in case we can see any numbers like a decimals added, right? Here we can see those. So what I'm going to do over here is I'll just simply add a one more column over here. Right click. I'll just say round this specific number, comma, how many decimal we want? We want a only one decimal, right? So I'll just say one decimal and hit enter. Decimal was a 2 digits, right? Now it is in 1 digit. If in case you don't really require, you can simply remove that as well. Okay, basis your own requirement. Perfect. When presenting data in slides or reports, nobody wants to see endless decimals. Let's move ahead and check eighth formula, which is round up. Round up always rounds higher, which is safer in budgeting. Okay. In our case, if I go ahead and check these values, right, specific to this. Okay. So if I want to round up that specific value, that time we can simply use this function. I'll just go down and here simply just say round up and I'll select this particular value over here, comma 0, bracket close, hit enter. And this is the result what I got. Okay. In here you can see 1719.52. Now here we got a round up value over here. Similar fashion, if in case you want to do a round down, you can do that as well. Simply select this specific value, comma, and then just say 0 over here, hit enter. Okay, round up and round down in MS Excel. Okay, and this is how the beautiful example of round up and round down. That's our first 9 Excel formulas. Simple, yes, but without this, you can't build dashboards, reports, or even start deeper analysis. With just this, you already have ability to calculate total for cost, find the average for inspections, spot lowest and highest risk, count valid records, round your data for reports. Next up, we will tackle something every real data set needs. Data cleaning functions, because messy data is the number one reason for Excel reports to get filled. Okay, so let's fix that. Here are the simple formulas. Count if. Let's calculate a count if in the MS Excel spreadsheet. Now we have this dump imported over here in MS Excel. Now what I will do, I'll just go extreme end and here I'll simply apply a count if. To do that, simply just say is equal to, let's say, count if function, right? So this is the count if, and when you apply it, just make sure that you are selecting a appropriate range over here. Okay, in my case I will just drag this and here I will simply select this severity score, which is my K2. So I'll just manually type it over here because I want to add a dollar sign over here, K2 until K41. Okay, so once you add that, let's say this greater than equal to 7. Okay, so double noted comma, bracket close. Before you hit a enter button, make sure that you're locking this specific range, right? So we are just locking this like this, shift and F4, or maybe you can press function key dollar sign, you will get a value like this and then hit a enter button. Okay, count incident with a severity score which is greater than 7. So its answer is 12 over here, right? So this is the, I will say, count if for me, right? Now I'll move ahead and check if I can add multiple conditions inside it. Right now we have seen a only count if, which is a single condition. If I want to add a multiple condition, that time I will simply say ifs this time, and this I will say this as a count ifs. Okay, instead of count if, this is the count ifs. What exactly it does? So this time what we're gonna do, count severity greater than 7 and loss time greater than 0. Okay, so that's what the condition is. Okay, and that condition we can fulfill with the help of count ifs over here. Again, a simple over here K2 and then let's say K41. Okay, which is the same severity, we have it in the range available, and then here we'll say is equal to 7, which we have initially used it, right? The same condition I'm gonna add it over here, and then now this is the criteria range 2, which means your new range. Okay, so this time I will quickly show you this, which is your lost time days. Okay, so this one, so which is again L2 to until L41. So again I will just delete this. Let's say L2, what I have said L2, and then here I will call this as a L41. Cool. So once it is done, just ensure that you are adding a comma over here and then this sign, let's say 0 and the bracket close. Okay, so once you done with this, just close your bracket over here. Ensure that you are adding a appropriate sign over here, which is your function key F4. Okay, here also the function key F4. Okay, sometimes your F4 will not work. Okay, directly press a shift and then dollar sign, then you will get that sign available. Cool. So I'll just hit a enter button over here and then I got this specific result over here, right? The very sweet difference between countif and countifs in MS Excel. Now we are going to calculate a sum if over here. Okay, so sum with a one condition first. Again the same thing, sum if. Okay, with a one condition will again a just a copy this specific range. Okay, because we have to again and again do the same thing. That's what I'm just copying it, and here we'll call this as a is equal to sum if. So once you add that, let's say this is a range for you. Okay, and this time I will make sure that I will change the value, okay, which is 8, and we'll add this as a comma once again, and this time which is sum range. So what is the sum range you want? I want a cost USD. Okay, so I will simply select this, which is U2. Right, so this is my sum range. You can see it over here on the screen, cost USD U column, right? U2, and then we'll drag it. Now our data is entirely in the table, so that's what we are not directly selecting the field. However, we are directly adding a value. Okay, so that's what it is. Okay, so once you add that, just ensure that you are closing this, and as like I have mentioned earlier, right, you have to always apply a this login fee. Okay, so once you log this, just hit a enter button. Okay, you will get a result then and there. Cool. So what exactly it happened, right? The sum of cost USD of severity score, which is greater than, okay, equal to your 8. So this is the sum which I am getting it over here, right? So similar fashion, we can do it for sum ifs as well, which means again, like a count ifs, we have a sum ifs function as well in MS Excel, which means you can add a multiple conditions at a time, right? So here, let's say sum ifs, and when I do it, let's say your range, where it is exactly, it is in U2, right? So this is your range. So whenever we apply like this, again I'm reiterating, okay, so that time we get this kind of a value. Okay, we don't really require that. We want a normal value which is U2 kind of, which will help us to lock that specific section. Okay, so that's what we are doing it over here. And here what I'm going to do over here is, again I will type U2. Okay, and then here again U41, because this is the until the range for me. Let's say C2. Okay, and this time I will call this as a C41. Let me just quickly show you what exactly C range is. Okay, so I will just drag it, my data, like this. This is my site. Okay, so this is the site I have available. That's what I have added, this specific range over here. Now in this section, what I want only office D. Can see it on the screen, right? So office D has been mentioned over here, right here as well. So this is the criteria I'm just adding in over here. Cool. And once again, double inverted comma. Okay, here I will call a, you know, B sections as well, which is my date section. Okay, so what I'm going to do over here is, I will just type a B2. Okay, again B41. Cool. So once you add that, just ensure that your criteria, so this is very important one. Okay, so this is the criteria, and this time I will say 2025, which is the date, which we can see it over here, right? The date, this is the date, and then let's say 01, and this time I'm gonna add a 01, which is my Jan, this thing, right? So I will just close this. Okay, once it is closed, just ensure that you're closing the bracket as well. And as I have rightly mentioned, right, you have to add a this function key F4. Just lock it. Again, just go here, function F4, simply locking a specific sections over here. Boom. So once it is done, just ensure that you are hitting a enter button, and boom, you got a result where we have applied a three conditions, right? We have seen that over here. Cost of site is equal to your office D, and since a 2025, which we have applied over here, which is this particular date. Okay, you can change that date as per your own data set, whatever data set you are referring with. Okay, that time you will get a result then and there, right? So weighted sums, okay, that time sometimes we have to multiply those things and then we have to get a result, right, with a appropriate values, and it is a time taken process when we do it, but some product will really help you this time. You don't have to do a multiplication, okay, and then division again and again. Okay, it's do it for you at one simple click. Okay, how to apply that? So let me just show you quickly. Let's say some product over here, and we'll add a this specific range, which is my K2, and again I will apply a K41. Okay, and this time I will say U2, and then here we'll say this U41. Good, and bracket close. So before I apply any kind of an absolute relative reference, okay, I just wanted to make sure that I'll show you the value, which is K2 and U2. Okay, so I'll just go here again. You see U, right? So this is the U, and if I scroll left over here, you can see the severity score, right? So severity score, and we have added a total USD value over here, and here I'm simply selecting this function key F4. Okay,
let's say this also function key F4 and hit a enter button. Boom. So you got a result then and there, right? So sum of severity score into your cost USD. This is what we have did. You can also apply weighted average severity by cost too. Cool. So once you apply this, what you have to do, just say divide, and you can apply a sum over here. Okay. And here you will apply a simple U, which is your overall cost, right? U2, and then let's say U41 bracket close, and then you just have to simply press a enter button. But before we enter that button, let's close this. Okay, so I will just simply close this and I'll hit a enter button. You will get a weighted average over here. Okay, you can just reduce those numbers. This is the final output of what you got over here. Cool. So this is how beautifully you can calculate and save your multiple times. Okay. Now let's start about calculate a blank. Okay. If in case you wish to calculate a blanks, okay, that time we use this function called count blank. Okay. If in case you want to calculate a blank, I have a count blank over here, and suppose I want to calculate blank from this specific hours. Okay, sometimes we miss to add it training hours. Okay, so that time great way to use this specific formula. Okay, which will save your multiple time. Again, I will just clear this out the mess. Okay, which I don't really require. Let's say count blank over here, and I will apply a M2. Okay, and let's say M41 bracket close. You can see the selection has been done automatically, and just ensure that you are selecting like this, function key F4, and then hit a enter button. If in case there are any blanks, okay, it will show me the result. Now I will show you one value over here. Suppose I will delete this kind of a value. If I check over here, you see total 8 entries has been deleted from there. Right? So this is very a super powerful formula, I would say, because at the time of dashboard creation, it's really helpful. So that's what we have explained this formula, and this is how the result looks like. Now, if simple condition, it's a very simple condition we are using, okay, with a if. Now let's talk about if. Okay, so since we have covered this, which is your count blank, I'll just type name as a count blank over here. Let's talk about this if condition. So very very basic way. Okay, this will help you to understand what exactly if looks like and how you can get comfortable with if function. Okay, so I will add a is equal to if. Okay, again here I will add k2, let's say this greater than equal to 8. Okay, if your k2 is your 8, which means it's high. Now you know your K2 what exactly it is, so severity score, right? So high, and then or maybe if it is not meeting that, which means it's normal. Now since we are calculating this only for that specific field, which means your K2, right? So if I do it like this, if I apply a this time function key like this, okay, so it will just vertically check the value. Okay, I'll show you the result, okay, first, and then you can decide. Just hit a enter button. Now I got a result like this, which is my normal. Now what I'm going to do over here is I'll just simply control X and control V. You can see the result. So wherever it's normal, it's okay, and it's greater than 8. So I'll just, if I click here and left hand side, if I go here, which is my K2, right? So if I go up here and check K2, you will get a result then and there, right? So suppose this 8, And if I go the right hand side, see the result, right? High. So this is how beautifully we have explained this function for you guys. Okay. So let me just do a control Z over here because we don't really require that because it's already done. Cool. So if condition is done, now let's talk about the upcoming function, which is AND function. And now when we add AND function inside if, okay, would add a value. So I'm not going to add this entire function again. Simply copy this instead of writing this function again and again. Just copy it. Okay. And let's say I type AND function over here. And this time I will, let's say this, I will just simply paste this. Okay. So once I paste this, I will add AND over here. Hit open. So I got this specific range over here. And this time I will keep a 7. And let's say if I say another logic, apply this as another logic, which is my shift dollar and L2, then 0. Okay. Once again bracket close, comma, this I will say this as a investigate. Okay. And if it is investigation needs to be done, then we will get this pop-up as a investigate. Otherwise it will show me this as a okay. Okay. So I'll explain this once again. Okay, what I have did, okay, I have just copied the if condition, okay, which we have used initially. It's a very basic one. And then we have applied a one more formula called AND function. Okay. When we apply a AND function over here, there are two conditions we have added. One is if, other is that AND function. Okay. So once we get this result, we just have to simply hit a enter button over here. So when we get this result, what you have to do, you just have to simply press a control X over here and hit a control V. Okay. So when you do that, you will get a result like this. So whatever data you have to investigate further basis the criteria, you can investigate that. Okay. Or maybe if in case the result is correct, you will get that result corrected then and there. Cool. So you can just rewind this video if in case is needed. Okay. Because I don't want to invest much time in it. Okay. You can just rewind this video and play it again and learn this specific formula once again. Okay. So likewise, we have the another logical function called OR. Okay. So here, what I'm gonna do, I'll just simply copy and I will add a OR over here. So what we are discussing a OR function. Okay. So let's say this specific condition. I'm gonna change this function. Okay. So let's say this as a OR. 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 And once you apply this, let's say k2 is equal to greater than is equal to 9. Okay. And then once you add that, your u2, okay, your u2 is like this, greater than, suppose you will add this as a 10,000 over here. Okay. And then you will say this as a priority, or maybe it is a routine. Okay. So it's complete your call what you want to keep it. If it is a priority, it's priority, otherwise it's a routine. So for me, I have added a two criteria over here. Okay. And I'll hit a enter button over here simply. If I do control X over here and paste it over here, you can greater than 9 or is equal to this. Number one condition is this, second condition is this 10,000, right? So it's a priority or maybe the routine. Okay. So this is how we have kept the formula very basic. Okay. Just hide this entire stuff. Okay. Because this will give you the overall glance what exactly we are talking about. Okay. So I'll hide this. I'll move my cursor like this and we are discussing about this now. Okay. Only the severity score. So once it is done, this is done. Okay. Now we are talking about the next logical function called not. So in the not, what we're gonna do over here is I will just simply again paste the same formula over here. Control A, Control C over here, paste it like this, and here we'll call this as a not, and we'll clear this out, the entire mess which we don't really require, because right now you can see it on the screen itself, right? But this time what I'm gonna do over here is I'll just add uh, one more column, okay, which is my lost time days. Okay, I'll keep it like this. I'll hide this because it is not really making a sense for us for now. But yeah, I'll keep it like this, and let's hide this as well. Okay. And in the not, what I'm gonna do over here is just simply, let's say, is equal to, okay, if, and then not, okay, bracket open, and let's say L2 greater than 0, bracket close, comma. Here I will say not, no lost time, double dot comma, let's say comma once again, and here I will say lost time. Cool. So once we add this specific criteria, what you have to do, you just have to simply add a $1 sign over here. Okay. To be done with this, let's say this, I'm pasting it over here. This is the result what I received over here. Cool. So this is the criteria what we have applied over here. Just do a control set over here. This is what we have applied it over here. Great. So we're done with this. We're done with the not as well. Now let's talk about the if error. Okay. Suppose there is an error. Okay, in this called, suppose it's calculating like this. Okay, this I will intentionally adding a any kind of error over here. Here I will type this as a words. So I got a value error over here. Cool. So now I want to identify the error over here. So to do that, what we can do, we use this function called if error. This, okay. Let's show me there is a error. Cool. And hit a enter button. So if in case there is an error, it will show me as an error. Or maybe if I copy and paste this like this, okay, I will get a specific value as it is, which is this. I've just copied and pasted at the bottom. Okay. But if I see over here there is an error, that's what I'm getting this pop-up over here. You can write your own custom text. It is not that you have to just stick with this kind of a text only. Check the formula, so you will get a customized text available then and there. I'll do a control Z over here for now, get a specific value over here. So we have covered if error also over here. Okay. So once we done with this, now let's talk about the concatenate. Okay. And the concatenate is function is very easy, right? So we all know how concatenate works, but still I'm just covering this function concatenate. Suppose I want to combine two things over here. I'll say concatenate this. So this comma double inverted comma space double inverted comma, and then let's say this, and I'll hit a enter button. So these two values are getting combined over here. You can see if I change this, see, those are getting combined over here. So likewise, you can combine multiple values as per your own need. Majority times while we are creating a dashboard, that time we combine the first name, last name, okay, or sometimes the address, okay. So just make a note of it. Cool. So we have done with this. Now it's a legacy method which we do concatenate of function. Okay. Now the modern method, which they called this as a concat, called concat. This is the modern method. And suppose in this specific row, okay, I'll take this as an example, this C2, okay, and we'll say comma this time, and add a this kind of pipe over here. Okay, so I will add this kind of a pipe and comma, and this my another value would be incident type, which is this, right? So you can see at the top what I have did. I have selected a specific value, which is my site, okay, and incident type. Cool. So once we done with this, you just have to simply close this, okay, and just ensure that you are adding a dollar sign here as well, and hit a enter button. You can see the result, right? This is how beautiful function is concat, right? So I'll type this as a concat, so you can just practice as I have rightly mentioned, right? Learn by doing activity. Always should we have already given in the GitHub link, okay, folks? You just have to download that spreadsheet. You have to practice this spreadsheet, okay? Otherwise, you will not understand what exactly and why these formulas are getting utilized. Cool. So until then, we have covered almost how many? 22 formulas. First page we have covered 1 to 9 formulas functions, and then we have covered a logical functions, okay, and this until we have covered a concat. Okay, now let's talk about the text formula. So when we talk about text, so let's say text over here, okay, and I will select over here as a, let me just unhide this rest of the other things, and I'll keep it only a those kind of part which will really require me. Okay, I'll unhide this. Here we'll take this as an example. Okay, for this column U, I will highlight this cost USD. Select this. Let me just apply this as a number from here, or maybe, okay, simply use a text function, which we are going to do it right now. The text, and here we'll say text. Okay, in the text itself, suppose I want to apply a specific value there, right, which means dollar and something, right? This you can do it with the help of text function. I will say dollar and then u2. Okay, and once it is done, let's say comma, okay, and apply dollar, double noted comma, let's say dollar. Here I will say hash sign, comma, once again hash 0.00. Okay, so I have applied this kind of a formatting over here. Double dotted comma, let's say close this and hit a enter button. You see the value, right? If I drag it down like this, I get a result then and there, right? So this is how beautifully we work with a text function. Okay, this text also help you to change a date formatting as well. Okay, so if in case you want to do a date, month and years, you can do that as well. Okay, there are multiple ways to do it and use the text. Okay, for now we are just explaining this kind of an explanation. Okay, cool. So now and take a left function. Okay, so to use that, I will just say left. Suppose I want a 3 characters from the specific site, which is my this, okay, which is this, and I want only 3 characters from here. In case I want a multiple rows, columns to be shown, then I'll just lock this and I'll hit a end. See, off. If I drag it down, I get a the rest of the result as well, right? So I got only 3 characters out of it. Likewise for right as well. If I do it for right, I will get a simple logic like this. I just copy this and paste it over here, and instead of left, this time I will say this is the right, and I'll hit a enter button. Cool. So it consists your space as well. Okay. So this time, if in case you want to understand it more better way, okay, let's take an example of this T2. Yeah. So I will just say T2 instead of this, and let's say 10, and hit a enter button. See, example dot. If I drag it down, I get a result like this. Again, it's in a dummy data, but it's really help you to understand what exactly and how these formulas will help you, okay, to attend any kind of an interview, or maybe to learn more about the basics of Excel. Good. Now this right is done. Suppose we want a MID, okay, and this time I will call this as a MID. Open, and here I will say I2, which is so just here, okay, and this time I will select this I2, comma 6, okay, comma 12, bracket close, and I'll hit a enter button. The medium value I got it over here, okay, which means it takes 12 characters starting at position 6 in your description. Cool. So if I add this dollar sign and drag it down, I get a multiple values like this. Cool. So this is how the medium works. Now the len. Okay, len is multiple times interviewer ask you in your data analyst position or maybe business analyst position. Okay. So just practice this particular formula. It's a really important one. Okay. Suppose is equal to len. This is the function I have added over here, and let's say v2, bracket close, and hit a enter button, which means the length of nodes cell. So what is the length? So that length will show you overall length of this. Great. So once it is done, now I want to case sensitive. Okay, so case sensitive formula, which is my find formula. I want to find that. So let's say find, and is equal to this. Okay. And this find formula I will apply as a chemical. Since it's a case sensitive, just type a text like a small and capital letters whenever you check that specific verbiage or the text you need, right? So always check in that way. And in this case, I will apply a dollar sign because I'm gonna find it in entire column, right? So I will just say this, and let's say this. Close. Oops, I haven't closed it correctly. So let me just close this correctly. Boom, I got this result. Okay. So why I'm getting this result? Because I drag it down, I will get a result like this. Now, it is not a error. Okay. Returns position of chemical. Okay. Error if it is not really found. So now let's check if in I2 the chemical is really exist. Okay. So I'll go here. I'll find out if the chemical is still there. Okay. And, if it is not, now what I'm gonna do over here is I'll just simply, let's say, chemical, and now check the position. Let's go here. You see the change. That's not the error. Okay, so this is just a pop-up for you, and that time if error comes in, right, and you can say in this specific section, right, if the error happens, that time you have to show so and so. We have to revalidate that specific spreadsheet. Okay, so this is how the logical thinking works when you work in a data spreadsheet, folks. Okay, so I have added that specific chemical there. That's what it's showing me this as a position. Cool. So boom, so we are done with this find as well. Now option called is equal to search, and this time I will say chemical again because we already typed that text there, and in the same section we have added that, right? So that's what I'll just say I 2 again, close, I'll hit a enter button. This time also I will just drag it down like this, and boom, I got this result. Okay. Now why we are using this? It's a safer when you just want to know if word appears. Okay. Just search what we have covered so far. Great. So we covered find, we covered search. Okay. Now substitute. Cool. So substitute is basically it will give you these substitutions, which means suppose instead of okay, I want to say something else. That can be done. This is equal to substitute. Yeah. And here I will call this specific text directly, comma, let's say okay. Okay. The text is basically okay, and I want to change that with how are. Okay. But you have to just always mention that in double inverted like this. And once it is done, hit a enter button. It has been changed now. Cool. So this is how beautifully you can change that from okay to how are. Cool. So I'll move ahead and talk about the next function called text join. Okay. So text join, we'll type it, and let's say text join over here. And in this text join, what I'm going to do over here is just simply, let's say, is equal to delimiter is comma, okay, and once again true, which is this, and c2, okay, comma f2, comma, let's say left. Here I will add a I2, comma 30, bracket close, and I'll hit a enter button. So this is how it's showing me a result, okay, which is my text join. So basically it's joining the text over here. Right? So join text reported by and the first 30 characters of description, ignoring blanks. Right? Now today. So if I type is equal to today function, I get this result. You can just press control and semicolon as well. You will get a similar result. Cool. So today is the function what we have covered over here. Once it is done, now if you want to get a current date and time, that time you can just simply say now and hit a enter button. Okay, you will get a current date and time then and there, right? So this is the recording time of my video, and you are getting a like this. Talk about date function. Okay, so date is basically like this only. Okay, if you want to showcase your any kind of a date in the specific format, okay, you can showcase that. Here I will just say 2007 and comma, I will say 9, and day would be like this, and I get a date. This is just a date formula what we have utilized over here, right? So now let's say dated if over here. This is a very important formula. Once again, just take a note of it. Just add a dated if over here. You can take a note of it because it may ask in your interview, and sometimes while you are creating a dashboards. Okay, this will really help you. This kind of a formula. Okay, so let's say is equal to dated if, okay, and this formula I will just delete this, b2, comma, let's say today. I told you, right? So today is basically your today date, comma, in days. So I need the result in days, and once it is done, just ensure that you are adding this, freezing this, right? So we are just freezing this and hit a enter button. Okay, so what happened exactly? Okay, so days from incident date, which means the B2, which is this specific date to until till date, how many days has been done? So total 52 days has been done. At the time of date of birth calculation, widely used. this kind of a formula, okay, which is called dated if. Now let's talk about weekday. Here I will say weekday, and this weekday again I will select a simple formula which is my B2 cool comma 2, then a enter button. So what is a week fall in? So this is the week fall in, and that's what the result. Okay, returns 1 as a Monday, 7 as a Sunday, 2 as a system driven approach. Great. So let's say this once again month, and here getting a result which is my month. Cool. So this is the month which is my 7th month. What is the result for month formula? Great. So if you want to calculate only day, you will say this as a day, and again B2. So what type of day it is? You will get a 15 day, which is B2. If I go here and check here, right? So this is the day, month, and year, right? So if I want a year, again, what you gonna do? Now you will tell me, which is very simple, is equal to year, right? And you will say B2 bracket close, hit enter, right? So here how we have calculated date, month, day, year, right? So this is the date functionality we have covered over here. Now let's move ahead and let's go something detailed called VLOOKUP. Okay, a new sheet. Okay, so get on this specific. Now in the next section, let's cover the lookup, VLOOKUP, index match, and XLOOKUP, even the offset function, okay, along with your statistical functions, okay. So don't forget to watch this entire series, folks, okay. So for now, we have just only covered these intermediate functions, which will help you to understand more and more about Excel. Cool. So bear with me and watch that video entirely.